Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to the official MSA National Podcast. This is your host, Subhan, and in case you haven't noticed, this is the first podcast that we are doing that is all video. So I'm super excited. And if you want to see more video podcasts like this, let us know in the comment section, inshallah. Today, I am so humbled and honored to have a very special guest with us. Today we have Jibril Syed with us. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about him, and then I'm going to actually hand the mic over to him to have him share about himself as well. So, Alhamdulillah, as I can see here, he is born and raised in Rochester Hills, and he's raised in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Masha'Allah, he's pursuing his finance degree at the McDonough School of Business at Georgetown University. He runs Division I track and field for the Hoyas, specializing in long sprints and the 400 meters hurdles. He is the only athlete in the U.S. history at the high school or collegiate level to earn All-American honors in both the 400-meter hurdles and the 2,000-meter steeplechase in the same championship meet. SubhanAllah, that is awesome. Without further ado, we have Jibril here. Jibril, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty well, Alhamdulillah. Just woke up, took a shower, and last night my dad told me about this interview, and I was super excited. So
That is awesome. That is
happy
awesome.
to be here. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, for those of you who don't know, we've actually had Jibril on Humans of MSA, one of the series that we're really happy and proud of, where we're kind of showcasing and featuring different students all across the country and globe doing great things. So Jibril, I think definitely didn't give any justice to kind of some of the accomplishments you've had. So I want to kind of give you the floor just to share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. I mean, honestly, that summed it up pretty well. But honestly, I think like what's more important, at least with me, like I feel like with my story is that's it, like the journey it took to kind of get there. Because a lot of people, for me, track was kind of like a last resort. I tried literally every other sport. I tried soccer, I tried basketball, I tried football. I really wanted to be good at football, but my problem was I wasn't really coordinated when I was young, so it didn't really work out that way. But track was kind of my last ditch effort. I wanted to be good at a sport. Always wanted to be an athlete. Um, and I had a lot of people that kind of helped along the way. You know, initially my high school coach, Coach Johnson, he was the first person to kind of tell me about the hurdles, and he kind of taught me what I know about hurdling, and he kind of made me fall in love with the sport. And after that, after he left my high school my freshman year, it was really just me and my dad out there. And I think that's what was so challenging was trying to figure things out on our own, trying to go from place to place, especially in the winter. Winters are cold over here. It gets to like in the single digits or even negatives sometimes. So
Wow.
you'd be running around in gymnasiums. You'd be running around in I used to go to my sister's elementary school and used to run around the hallways over there. So really just finding innovative ways to really make things happen. And by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my junior year, I gotten hurt my track season. So, and for the hurdles, junior year is basically your make or break year. Um, so at that point, I thought everything was over. I thought that I was gonna have to switch events maybe, or that I just have to give up altogether. And over the summer, over the course of like a month and a half of training after I got out of rehab. Um, it's kind of like gotten with a coach out maybe like 25 minutes from here, and he kind of helped make things happen for me. I dropped like 5 seconds in my time, which is unheard of. And like literally over the course of a month and a half, I went from no offers, not even an email from any of these like top coaches to like all the coaches calling me and getting that record that you talked about earlier,
Yep.
being the only person to be All American in both of those events. SubhanAllah, I whenever I think about it, I always feel really blessed because over the course of 48 hours, really, my life had changed. And it was
Wow.
really sweet to see.
So you had this like big event, and because you did well in it, you think that was like a huge reason as to why you started getting these offer letters and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think more importantly, they saw like a lot of coaches told me like they saw that I was like it showed resilience, right? Like I had just gotten because the two events that I run are like polar opposites. 2000 steeplechase is like a distance event.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
people that run that usually run the mile and the 2 mile, whereas 400 hurdles, is like a pure sprint event. It's one lap around, 10 hurdles, you're over within 60 seconds. So coaches would see that, and I think they saw that I was resilient and I was willing to put in the work that other people just aren't willing to do.
Mm.
And I think that's what really um, made things happen for me. Yeah.
Masha'Allah, that's amazing, man. Props to you for kind of coming back and really going all out, mashallah, and doing great work. So I
Thank
guess, it's not every day that I get to speak to a D1 athlete. So I guess the
you.
question that I have for you, man, is, and I'm sure, all our listeners and students and alumni, et cetera, would love to know this as well. How did it feel, man, getting these offers, right? We hear about basketball players and et cetera getting their D1 offers from these these big schools. So when you got them in the mail, how did that feel? And then how did you eventually decide Georgetown?
Well, honestly, I felt really special. I mean, even after I had ran the time and like people told me like you're gonna like things are gonna change for you, it didn't really feel like I still felt like the same Jibril. People always ask me like, "Oh, how do you feel?" I just felt like me, and that's why I felt so special because I never really thought of myself as that kind of like caliber of an athlete. Um, but it was awesome. I mean, my top five choices were Ohio State, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and then Georgetown. And what ultimately made me go towards Georgetown was balance. Um, Georgetown is a really good academic school, and in my offer they told me that I could go directly into business school. I didn't have to apply. So that was ultimately the deciding factor for me. I mean, they have a really good track program. We were runner-ups for the Big East this year.
Wow,
So that balance of being able to have both, that was really important to me.
that's amazing, man. So in terms of like college right now, where are you right now? Have you started? Are you like what year are you in college right now?
Oh, yeah, I'm a rising sophomore.
Okay, cool, mashallah. So tell us about your first year. How was that? Like, how did the first year go? How was track? How was all that? I know it was the pandemic and things of that
Yeah,
sort. So kind of walk us through how, year one was for you in college.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was very weird because of COVID. Whatever I expected college to be, it was nothing like that. Especially first semester, there weren't that many people there. There was just mostly foreign exchange students, F1 visa holders. And I was one of the few people that they allowed to be on campus for a semester. So if I'm being honest, it was a little bit lonely, and I was in my apartment most of the time, just hanging out with my roommates. I'm lucky because I have family over there, so I would be over their house a lot. But second semester, that's when they brought sports back. Um, so a lot of my athlete friends came, and that was a lot of fun. It was a bit of a challenge attending class on Zoom,
Yeah.
just because I'm not used to that kind of learning environment. But I think I kind of adjusted, and things kind of really clicked in for me second semester when I had that support group around me. I think. As far as track is concerned, it was also a little bit weird because we didn't have all of our facilities.
Yep.
Like our track was closed. We could only be in the weight room for an hour at a time, so we really had to punch things together. It was very interesting in that way. And we only had a month of training before our season started, so a lot of us, including myself included, ended up getting hurt. Um, and like every honestly, the season came down to who could stay healthy and still perform. So, but overall, I think it went really well. I learned a lot. Um, and yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you kind of sharing that, man. And what does year two look like for you? Like what do you see coming about year two? What are some of your goals year two, obviously, in track and field and things of that sort? I'm sure things now with vaccines and things like that are obviously getting a lot easier, a little bit more laid back and things like that. So kind of walk me through that, inshallah.
inshallah, yeah. I mean, my goals as far as this next year is to really really make a splash. Now that things are back to normal, I want to one be able to integrate back into normalcy. But as far as track is concerned, I mean, I really want to be able to be, I think, like one of the fastest people on my team. I want to be able to, win conference this year. I wasn't able to do that last year because I got hurt. So this year I really want to do that and also make it far into the NCAA's and maybe even make it to nationals. Those are my goals.
Wow, nationals, man. That sounds amazing, man. May Allah make it
Yeah,
easy.
no, it'd be sweet, inshallah.
So like how time intensive is it? Like when you're like, yeah, because I'm sure so many people are wondering, man, how is this guy balancing school? How is he balancing, faith? How is he balancing training and things of that sort? So walk me through you balancing it and how time intensive, each of these, elements of what you do are.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of how time intensive it is, people think that it's just like 2 hours of practice. Like in high school, you just show up and you leave.
Yeah.
Over here, we have morning lifts and then we have afternoon practice. And it's not just the actual being like attending practice, it's also like when you come home, you have to stretch, you have to ice, you have to do different things to make sure you can perform well again the next day. Um, I'll say it's very different in that way. You have to make sure you eat right. Um, and that's when the balance kind of comes in. I feel like it's a drawback. On one hand, you have a lot less time because of sports, but then also I think it puts more structure into your day. When you have less time to do things, you have to really write everything down, kind of regiment. I'm going to do this at this time. I'm going to do this that at that time. I'm going to take a break here. So I think, and initially it's kind of tough, especially if I made the mistake of scheduling classes after practice. You're really tired after that, but um, I think after that I kind of adjusted, and I think it actually kind of helped me to really organize myself.
Cool, man. Mashallah. Yeah, I can't imagine, man, like, balancing all that and things like that. But, really cool. I love how you mentioned it kind of makes your days like more structured and things like that. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of this quote, but, sometimes they say busy people get more things done. So, definitely really cool to see you really maximizing your time and kind of excelling in all these, levels of activities, mashallah, faith,
Yeah.
school, track, things like that. So, it'd be really cool to know some of your goals, man. Like, talk to me a little bit about some of your goals, whether it be in track, whether it be in business, school, things of that sort. What are you working toward?
I mean, yeah, so I mean, I think what am I working towards? I kind of have like one vision, and I think as far as track is concerned, I want to be able to, when it's all said and done, look back on my career and say that like I showed everybody that through hard work and like sheer willpower that you can really get things done. I mean, uh, I want to be able to be NCAA All-American. I want to be able to say that I have my school record, but and I want to be able to say that I was conference champion, but I think even bigger than that, I mean, I want to be able to make the Olympics, and I really want to be able to inspire people. I think that's why I do this. It's not just, these quantitative things. I think that's what really like drives me when I feel tired in practice or when I don't want to do an extra set. I think that's what really pushes me because I remember how I felt for the longest time about confidence, not thinking I'll be able to make it. So now that I was blessed in being able to be here, I want to be able to inspire others to do the same. As far as business, I mean, I want to become a financial advisor after school, and after I get my undergrad, probably pursue my MBA, and see where that takes me. That's something that I really find interesting, and I think I'm pretty passionate about. Um, yeah.
Very cool, man. And I guess like it'd be really cool to know a little bit about like, some of the lessons you've learned, just in this 1 year of college and things of that sort. Like, has it taught you anything so far that you feel you've really benefited immensely from? Any life lessons or anything like that through not just only college, but this whole experience that you've been on in general?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of things that I've learned. I mean, people always say like sports is really like character building. It teaches you a lot, I think, about life. Um, I think specifically with my journey, I think I learned like to be creative, to be resilient. I think reaching out for help because me and my dad, a lot of times we didn't really know what we were doing, but through this experience, we built a lot of connections. We like when I would try and learn about the hurdles, like I would talk to a coach named Randy Williams who used to run with Edwin Moses back in the day. And when I tried and do triple jump, I talked to Donald Scott. He's now uh, competing at the Olympics this year for the triple jump. We always reached out to people and we always asked for help, saying, I don't know what I'm doing, help us, right? And I think that people people a lot of times are too prideful to do that. They're like, no, I want to figure something out on my own. They don't want to admit that they don't know. But if you don't know what you're doing, then you have to go to an expert to become. That's how everybody starts out that way. And I think another thing that I really learned is a lot of people, they might have the times, they might be really athletically gifted, but if you don't have the grades, um, then you can't make it, right? I know a lot of people that were like top five in the state, or like one of the best in the country, but they couldn't go to any colleges because they were ineligible.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think those are probably some of the things I learned. I mean, also, I mean, I was really lucky to have my dad in my corner. He kind of he's like my agent in a way. He'd be calling coaches. He'd be organizing things for me. And I think having somebody like that kind of helps facilitate things, because nobody can do it by themselves. Nobody can. No person on the face of this earth has ever like has done everything by themselves. Everybody always has someone in their corner. I think having that person is really like important.
Absolutely, and let's kind of like talk about that, right? Because mashallah, I've had the opportunity to speak to your dad and meet him a couple times, and I know, he's so proud of you and all the great work that you've done. So it'd be really cool, and obviously, like, not only is he proud of you, like, at least from what I've seen, mashallah, he's really involved in what you do and is super supportive in what you do every single step of the way, which is so awesome to see. So kind of walk me through that, like, how has your dad's role kind of shaped who you are today as a person, obviously as an athlete, things of that sort. I think that'd be really cool for all of us listeners to hear and benefit from.
Yeah. So I mean, I think like he was right there beside me. I think almost all of the way of this journey. I think that's what kind of made this special, was like we were both kind of figuring things out as we went along. Um, and I feel like because he was sincere, and because he had that driving force, I think that's what really helped things. Because a lot of times I would feel stagnant, or like we wouldn't really see the progress that we want, um, or we'd have like other issues going on. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on, I would say, and but he would always find a way. Like that's one thing, kind of like I said earlier, he was innovative. If we couldn't get to track because it was really cold out, we run in the gymnasium, or if we couldn't run because I was hurt, I would run in the pool actually. So a lot of things, I think I think that's what really helped me, because seeing that how resilient he was, and seeing how he would kind of think out of the box and really do whatever it takes to get things done. I think that indirectly, and sometimes even directly, kind of helped me become that kind of person too.
That's amazing, man. MashaAllah. So cool to hear, man. So I guess kind of transitioning into like college life and things of that sort. I'm sure a lot of people have these aspirations of doing great things, mashallah, even in their college years. I think it'd be really cool, at least for myself, first and foremost, to kind of learn how you've been able to manage like faith, right? Because D1 athlete is no joke, mashallah. I'm sure a lot of people know who you are, as you walk in campus, especially with the year upcoming, right? With less limitations in terms of like social distancings and things like that. So, how are you able to, mashallah, handle all these accolades, excel in them, and your school, of course, and all the other attention you get, obviously with the media, whatever it may be? How do you balance faith into that, and have that as a huge part of what you do and what you hold on to with values and things like that?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the three things that I kind of think about. You think of religion, school, and track, right? And
Yep.
probably in that order too. Um, so I think, I mean, it gets pretty busy at times, just scheduling wise first. Um, I mean, like, but I always make sure that I pray in Jama at least one time out of the day.
Mashallah.
Um, and the MSA is really good with that. Our MSA, like during Ramadan, I would always go over for Tarawih and things of that nature. I always have iftar with my. I think just having that as my social group really helps. Finding other Muslims that are like-minded, it really goes a long way. And I think in terms of like the attention stuff like that, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be temptation there to do certain things. But I think if you know what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, and you have that set in stone in your mind. As long as you don't waver from that and you stay true to who you are, I think that um, things will be okay.
Very cool, mashallah. And I love how, you mentioned, companionship. I think that's super, super important. A lot of the times, we hear the quotes and the sayings, you are who your friends are, things of that sort. So
Yeah.
talk to me how important companionship has been in your journey, not only from, the perspective of faith, as you just mentioned, but also just with you and your athletics and overall journey. So from a faith perspective, how important has your companions been? And then of course from your athletic journey, and of course even your school journey, from just you doing well in the school of business and things of that sort.
Yeah. I mean, I always think, kind of like you said, I feel like they say that you're the combination of your five best friends.
Hmm.
Like, and I think that that's always held true for me. I mean, all of my friends, I mean, all of my friends played sports. All of my friends were like pretty religious. All of my friends did pretty well in school. And I think that kind of really helped me throughout high school. And in college, I mean, because I moved to a new area, I didn't know anyone there. I really had to find people that were kind of like me and um, people that thought like me. And sometimes people that think differently too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that first semester I didn't really know anybody. I kind of stuck on my own. But second semester I really made an effort to try and find other people. And I think that once I found the right people, that really helped me to focus on what I want to do and who I want to be. I mean, I've had like when I was in high school, I mean, there were a lot of people in my life that were kind of like, iffy. And that also like would negatively impact me. Um, like with like sometimes with school, like other people like, oh, we can just skip school. Let's
Yeah.
go to McDonald's during fifth period or whatever. Um, but I think now that I'm in college, I kind of see like you have to hang around with who you want to be, and that I think that's really helped me.
Mashallah. I think, anyone and everyone listening to that's some beautiful advice, mashallah. Well, Jabril, man, we have just a couple more questions, inshallah, and we'll conclude. But I think it'd be really, really cool or not, I think it'd be beneficial actually for you to kind of share. And you talked about it briefly as we started about hardships, right? Because I feel like hardships and trials are a part of anyone's journey, not just in athletics, but in life. Right, we know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself had to go through a plethora of hardships. Uh, so, kind of walk me through some of the hardships you've had to face throughout your journey and how those hardships made you who you are today.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of things that I kind of had to deal with. First, I think it was like even if I didn't have other obstacles in my way, just being, like a brown kid, I was undersized at the time. I was like 5'10", like 35 in my freshman year. Being like scrawny, unathletic. Um, and then I think like physically it was really hard to make it from that point to where I am
Yeah.
now, or even like mentally, being able to look in the mirror and longest time I wasn't really like happy with myself. I was like, I'm not always feeling inadequate because I mean I wasn't as good as other people that I would compete against. I remember like in track and field, especially when you run indoor, they print out like a sheet, right? And it puts in order all the people that ran from fastest to slowest. I remember when I used to look for my times, I would start from the bottom up because it would be easier. I wouldn't have to look through all the names.
Mhm.
Um, but I think also like kind of like other people that I wanted to look up to, like upperclassmen at my school, they would always like kind of like look down on me also because I wasn't as good as them or whatever. And that also kind of took a toll. So all these things like mentally, I always felt like I had to prove myself. I wanted to be better. Um, and then I think I had a lot of problems like with my school as things went on too. Like during the summers or during the winter when I would want to train, they wouldn't let me have access to like the track or to the weight room. So that's why we had to go into gymnasiums or uh, get gym memberships during the winter because we really had to think outside the box.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and then battling injuries. I told you I got hurt my junior year.
Yeah.
Um, that's Yeah, I mean, and then also like a lot of times like people were like I would say like unwilling to help us or even be like antagonistic towards like our goals. Whether it be like talking as I've had people talk to other coaches and be like, don't recruit him to the winter. He's not a fall. Because usually only the top athletes get recruited in the fall. I've had
Yep.
people talk to coaches and be like, he's not a fall recruit athlete. Don't
Wow.
recruit him for the winter. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of crazy things that's happened on my journey, but I think through that I've learned to again be resilient, to kind of be tunnel vision sometimes. There's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be things that try and pull you down. But if you just look forward, you don't look in your peripherals and or in the rear view mirror, um, then that's when you can really focus on what you want to do and where you want to be. And I think when you have that focus, I think that's the biggest thing.
That's so cool, man. Subhanallah. I think a big key, takeaway for everyone listening is how Jibril is really talking about resilience. And I think, I give you a lot of props because I'm sure a lot of people, if they had to go through that, especially when it's not just, peers, it's elders kind of saying these things about you and things of that sort, that hurts. Like, I mean, I'm sure anyone would feel hurt hearing things like that. But it's really cool that, you challenged, as they say, your inner mamba, if you will, right? And actually, you know, persevered. And I guess this is just a personal question after you kind of, shared that. Like, so you always started looking at the bottom at the list when you would do these runs. When was that change when, obviously you started looking toward the top? Like, when did that happen where your game, if you will, just progressed to new heights? When did that kind of take where you were like, wow, I'm going from someone who's just participating in the sport to actually, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, being good at this sport. Now I can actually compete. Wow, now I may be playing college. When did that transition happen?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I always had the goal, even if it seemed out of reach, of running for a college. Even though a lot of times people look at me like I was crazy, I was like, no, I'm gonna make D1. But I think things kind of transitioned slowly for me. It started like I think after my freshman year, I started being in the middle of the pack. Then my sophomore year, I started being in like let's say like the upper like 1/3, right? Then
Hmm.
I think the biggest transition was after my junior year. That's when not only the coaches, kind of like I told you, all the coaches started calling me, but then I think I started seeing in myself, like, like maybe I really am more than just like somebody that's like participating. I think once my confidence shot up, that's when I really saw that I was respected by others and I was also hitting the times that I wanted. I think that the biggest thing was yeah, like confidence and like self-respect,
Yep.
because for the longest time I kind of sought that out in others. It was like I'm gonna make other people recognize who I am, but I never really recognized who I was myself. And I
Hmm.
think that was the biggest thing for me. Once I started having confidence in me, that's when I really started seeing like I started winning races and started things started really happening for me after that. Yeah.
Subhanallah. That is so cool and inspiring, man. Well, Jabril, I wanted to close by asking one last question, inshallah. And I think this is something that, a lot of students who may have been in your place, in high school, would feel or would benefit from. And that's pretty much like you just giving some advice to someone who, is participating, and it doesn't even have to be in sports. Maybe they're participating in a side hustle. Maybe they're participating in an extracurricular activity or a sport. What advice do you have for them as your closing advice to succeed in that and kind of elevate in what they're doing, inshallah?
Inshallah, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to always have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I remember my race at nationals. This is the race that kind of changed everything for me. I remember the day of that race, my legs were super sore. That I couldn't even sit down properly because the coach that I was with, he put me through some crazy workouts. Um, but I remember that day, that was the first time that I wasn't nervous for a race because I woken up for Fajr. I think I woke up in the middle of the night and prayed Tahajjud as well. And I was like,
Inshallah.
after when I had made sujood, and I remember thinking, I was like, whatever is going to happen, already written for me, right? I just have to have faith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, He can make anything happen. I think to doubt that is to, doubt Him Himself, right? So I think always to have faith that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And if you put in the work, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that you have faith in him and that you're putting in the work, I don't think that he'll shut you down. And if he does, then it was probably for the best. So I think always have that faith and always run in the back of your head that you're gonna succeed if it's best for you, inshallah.
I love it, mashallah. I think that is amazing closing advice, man. May Allah reward you, Jibril. We're not done yet, man. Why? Because in every episode, we do something called like a small little fun rapid fire round. So that's something I don't think I even briefed you before. And the reason is because it has to be all impromptu. So I'm just going to ask you like a couple questions just for fun, and you just got to give me an answer. Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So this is just lighthearted questions. So number one, my friend, what is your favorite food?
Hmm. I think it depends on my mood, but I would say burgers most of the time.
Cool,
You know, I
man.
could always, almost any day of the week, I get a good burger.
I love it. I love it. What is your favorite book?
Um, I mean, I just started reading 48 Laws of Power, but I think childhood growing up has always been probably the second Harry Potter book.
Okay, cool. Classic. All right.
Yeah.
How about this one? What is your favorite quote, if you have one?
I actually have a favorite quote. My favorite quote is it's by Damian Lillard actually, and he said, if you wanna shine in front of thousands, you have to outwork thousands in front of nobody.
Man, that is bars right there. That is powerful. I love it.
Yeah.
Lillard is awesome. All right. Now, this is actually a really cool one. I think a lot of people would like to know this about you since you are an athlete yourself. Who
Mhm.
is your favorite athlete?
Favorite, I don't know who my favorite athlete is, but I'd say a few people that like I'd say my top like my Mount Rushmore, which is four. I would say Muhammad Ali. I would say definitely I've always had a lot of respect for Allen Iverson. I mean he went to Georgetown, but also because he was undersized and he just played with a lot of heart. You know, he always people always say like he played bigger than what he was.
Yeah.
So Allen Iverson, Muhammad Ali. I would say Edwin Moses. I have to throw in a track guy in there, and but no, he was great. I think he was undefeated for like 20 years or something ridiculous like that. Um, my last one, what's my fourth? Um, I don't know, probably. I mean, I was always growing up. I was always a big Calvin Johnson fan. You know, from the Lions. Megatron, he was a monster.
I like it, man. That is definitely the most diverse Mount Rushmore I've ever heard in my life, man. So props to you. And the last question that we always do in every episode, and this is my favorite question to always ask: if you can give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Advice to my younger self. Honestly, I would say I would probably double back and say self-confidence. For the longest time, I would always walk even like I mean this literally speaking, walking around with my head down or like walking around and not really thinking too good of myself or always trying to receive like admiration from other people. But once I ran the time, I realized that only I can give myself that. I think that's the biggest advice I'll give myself is to believe in yourself.
I love it. I love it. SubhanAllah. That is amazing. Well, Jibril, man, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the MSA National podcast today, the first video one. So you were the first one to be a part of this video series that we're now going to be doing, inshallah. But may Allah reward you and grant you so much success in all that you do from the school side, of course. May Allah keep you strong in your faith and, of course, super successful in your upcoming season at Georgetown as well. And inshallah, everybody will be sure to tag Jibril so you can follow him in his journey, inshallah. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast, if you're watching it on Instagram, YouTube, etc., give it a like. If you're watching it on Apple Podcasts, be sure to go ahead and rate it a 5 stars. And we'll be sure to see you all on the next episode of the MSA National Podcast. Sanams.